I thought my wife Charlotte, whom I had loved deeply for 10 years, loved me just as much as I loved her, but after 8 years of marriage, she still refused to have children with me. That's when I realized that, deep down, she had never forgotten her love, Pablo. One day, after a quarrel, we had a car accident on our way home from work and both died on the spot. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back in time. Before we even started dating, I chose to give her up. 10 years later, she had become the CEO of a branch of a multinational corporation, living a life of glory and success. At a class reunion, she walked in with Pablo, flaunting their relationship in front of everyone, rubbing it in my face. Calvin, I never thought you'd still be so devoted to me. You even waited for me after being reborn. I smiled faintly and pulled my wife and son into my arms, but she was about to cry. How could you fall in love with another woman and even have children with her? Chapter 1. 10 years had passed, and I thought I'd never cross paths with Charlotte again after my rebirth. But at a New Year's business party, fate drew us together once more. At that time, I was the chairman of DS Group, exhausted after inspecting the company's global operations. The event had been personally organized by the president of the A District Business Association, so I couldn't refuse the invitation. I rushed to the venue straight from the airport in the morning, too tired to even tidy up my hair or beard. As soon as I walked in, I saw Charlotte in a wine-red bodycon mermaid dress, arm in arm with Pablo, who was dressed in a white suit, walking proudly through the crowd. A few businessmen surrounded them like moths to a flame, their faces full of envy and admiration. Charlotte has really been doing well these past years. Even though she's just the CEO of one of DS's subsidiaries, she must be making hundreds of millions annually, right? Hey Charlotte, you've done the best among our college classmates. Don't forget about us when you're at the top. Yeah, Charlotte, I heard the bar to become a supplier for your company is pretty high. As old classmates, give me a break and make an exception. Charlotte tightened her grip on Pablo's arm and smiled brightly at the crowd. Of course, we're all old friends, and we're classmates, so I'll definitely look out for you all. Wow, look at Charlotte, soaring in her career with a man who loves her deeply. I heard you two are getting married after the new year. Don't forget to invite us to celebrate. More flattery followed, calling them a perfect couple, a match made in heaven. I stood at a distance, feeling nauseated by the scene. At that moment, I overheard someone casually say, by the way, Charlotte, you and Calvin were once so deeply in love, and he was your first love. It's hard to believe you two didn't end up together. Charlotte's smile froze instantly, and Pablo, standing beside her, gave a slight smirk, dismissing the comment. Who doesn't have a first love when they're young? Charlotte has long forgotten about him. He was never worthy of someone as good as her. The crowd laughed, as if it were a joke, and quickly moved on. But they didn't know, back then, when Charlotte pursued me, she had stood outside my dormitory building for 7 straight days, shouting that she loved me. This even caught the attention of the school's administration, and in the end, I was moved and chose to be with her. She once told me I was the only man worth loving in her life and the only one she wanted to have children with. I believed her, and after graduation, we walked into the wedding hall together. It wasn't until later that I realized it had all been a lie. Chapter 2. As I watched Charlotte being fawned over by a group of people, I felt incredibly awkward. Just as I was about to turn and find a quiet corner to sit, someone recognized me. Hey, isn't that Calvin? What a coincidence. I was just talking about you. Long time no see. Where have you been all these years? It was Leo, a college classmate who was great at networking and seemed to have started a successful advertising company. Leo's shout drew everyone's attention, and soon all eyes were on me as they began to scrutinize and gossip. Wow, it's really Calvin. Look at that messy hair and unshaven face. Looks like things haven't been going well for him. What's he wearing? A baggy outfit. He's at such a high-end business party and doesn't even have a suit. Hey, don't be too harsh. We're all doing well, but if Calvin's having a hard time, we should help him out. I couldn't help but laugh bitterly to myself. This was just a casual outfit I'd thrown on during my nap on the plane. My tailored suit was still sitting in my luggage, and I simply didn't have time to change. It was a rush. While everyone continued to whisper and point, I noticed Charlotte watching me through the crowd. I walked over with confidence. Fancy meeting you here. Charlotte's expression froze for a moment, but then her eyes glinted with heavy sarcasm. Calvin, you used to be the school heartthrob, a full scholarship student, and a top student. I never thought you'd end up like this. Pablo, standing beside her, looked down at me with an air of superiority, his nostrils almost reaching the sky. Yeah, good thing Charlotte chose me. Otherwise, if she had stuck with you, she'd be starving by now. I'm sure she's grateful you let her go. And look at you, showing up at such a high-end event dressed like a slob. Don't you feel embarrassed? What? You have no career, no woman. Hey, you know what? We're all old classmates. So I'll do you a favor and lend you one of my spare suits. I could only smile bitterly in my heart. Pablo, my rival, must really hate me to say so much to put me down. Before I could respond, the classmates nearby burst into laughter, enjoying the spectacle. Honestly, with my disheveled appearance, I probably looked like a poor, down-and-out refugee to everyone. I couldn't help but silently blame Jack, the president of the A District Business Association, for informing me so late, making me rush to the event without any time to freshen up at the hotel. If it weren't for our long-standing friendship, I would have declined and rested at the hotel instead. Just as I stood there, feeling uncomfortable, one sycophant spoke up with a mocking tone. "Hey, what's going on? Are you rejecting Pablo's suit because it's not good enough for you?" I think it's more like he's afraid of getting Pablo's suit dirty and not being able to pay for it. Haha. Another round of laughter echoed through the room. I realized it wasn't worth trying to talk to these people, so I turned and quietly sat down in a corner. At that moment, Charlotte walked over slowly, casually pulling out a stack of money from her bag. I could tell it was about 10,000 yuan. She placed the money on the table with a look of disdain and smirked at me. "Here, take it. At least go find a hotel and clean yourself up. Buy yourself a suit. I'm just doing this as a favor." Remembering our past, I pushed the money back toward her without a trace of hesitation. "Thanks for your offer, but there's no need. Calvin, don't be like that. I know we didn't end up together, but you can't just give up on yourself because of me." It was then that I realized she thought I had fallen so low because of her. In my previous life, I had sacrificed everything for her, even giving up the chance to develop my career abroad to help her chase her vague entrepreneurial dream. From the start, I knew that entrepreneurship was a long shot, especially for a recent graduate like me, with no experience and no capital. The chances of success were minimal, but she, back in college, had been dreaming of becoming a successful female CEO, blindly determined to start a business no matter what. For her, I worked 3 different jobs, not only to support myself but also to sustain her failing business. I thought my sacrifices would make her appreciate me, but in the end, she directed all her anger from the business failure at me. I should have chosen Pablo. He might not be as handsome as you, but at least he's rich and can actually help me succeed. Look at you. What do you have besides a nice face? Love? Haha. Can love pay for my business? After that, I realized that all my sacrifices had been in vain, that I was the one being foolish and desperate. I once sat on the rooftop, drunk and heartbroken in the middle of the night, almost giving in to the urge to jump, but I loved her so much and couldn't bear to give up on her. So I thought maybe having a child together would hold our relationship together. Charlotte, didn't you say you wanted to have a child with me? Forget about the business for now. Let's just have a child. But to my surprise, she slapped me across the face and looked at me with disgust. "You can't even take care of me, and you want me to have a child with you? Ask yourself, do you even deserve me?" Even though I came up with several practical plans, like giving up the business and getting stable jobs so we could raise a child together, she rejected them all. She said I was beneath her ambition. After countless arguments, we finally reached the end of the line, dying in a car accident caused by a crash involving an old Volkswagen. In the final moments, as I saw her face mangled from the crash, I felt my last heartbreak. I never imagined that I would be reborn, and I never imagined Charlotte would also be reborn. Lost in thought, I watched Charlotte's expression as she stared at the money I had pushed back toward her, looking incredulous. "Calvin, you've fallen this low, and you still care about your pride? This 10,000 yuan is just the cost of one meal for me. You probably won't even make that much in a few months. I've told you, I don't need it. I have a suit. I just didn't have time to change today, and I'm doing fine. I'm not down and out." I pushed the money back again, and Pablo walked over, putting his arm around Charlotte's shoulder. "Hey, Charlotte, you really should have noticed by now that he can't even wear a suit. He looks like a mess. Maybe he came here hoping someone would find him a job. How about this? Calvin, you're big and strong, right? I have an e-commerce company that needs sorters. It's day-to-day pay, a little hard work, but you could earn a few thousand a month, and we have dorms, enough to support yourself." I was utterly speechless, but I still gave them a polite smile. "Thanks, but I have a job already. Really don't need it." But as soon as the words left my mouth, the entire crowd burst into laughter. "Haha, look at him. He's this poor, can't even tidy himself up, and he's still pretending. How long has he been unemployed?" I furrowed my brows. Was I really that shabby today? Wasn't this the look of a billionaire? Chapter 3. Calvin, it's better to be alive than to care about your pride, someone said, with a mocking tone. "If you don't want to sort packages, you could always work at my auto repair shop. It's all inclusive, and you'll earn 5,000 a month. You're so cruel, making him do all this hard work. Or he could come to my house as a butler. Just give me foot massages. 8,000 a month. Ha ha ha." Everyone gathered around me, throwing all sorts of sarcastic comments, and Charlotte's smugness was practically overflowing. She crossed her arms and looked down at me, sneering. "Are you still pretending to be so high and mighty? Look at all of us, and then look at yourself. Do you really think refusing my money makes you look good?" Pablo, standing next to her, sneered as well, looking at me with contempt. "Exactly, Calvin. Look at you. You probably haven't eaten a proper meal in days. How about you kiss my shoes, and I'll give you 100,000. How about that? Huh? Earning money isn't that shameful. Ah, this idea's even better. Come on, Calvin, crawl under my legs, and I'll give you 200,000. Calvin, let me ride you. If you can carry me around and bark like a dog in the middle of the venue, I'll give you 500,000. Their insults were endless, and my anger was starting to boil. If I weren't meeting Jack, the organizer of tonight's event, I would have left already. But just as I was about to stand up and leave, a few people grabbed me and forced me back into my seat. TSK, the host of the party hasn't even shown up yet, and you're already planning to leave. Don't you think you're embarrassing, Mr. Jack? One person mocked. That's right. I heard Mr. Jack specially invited Mr. Falk, the chairman of the DS multinational group, to give a speech tonight. We don't even have the chance to meet him. You're really going to leave before the big guy arrives? Charlotte was practically gleaming with pride, holding her glass of wine and swaying it with excitement. I heard that Mr. Falk is a mysterious person, but as the president of a branch in Area A, I've never even met him. This is a huge opportunity for me. If I impress him tonight, I might be the next president of Area A. Her determination made all the sycophants around her perk up even more. Miss Wu, I've heard the president of Area A's position might be up for grabs, and I'm sure it'll be yours. Miss Wu, if you become the president, we'll all be relying on you for support. I heard Mr. Falk is still single. Charlotte, if you catch his eye, your future will be limitless. The crowd's comments got more absurd by the second, and I couldn't take it anymore. I suddenly stood up, my voice cold. Mr. Falk isn't as low as you all think. Move out of my way. Jack is waiting for me. As soon as I said that, everyone burst out laughing. Did you hear that? Calvin just said Jack is waiting for him. Someone mocked. Calvin, you've really lost it, haven't you? Jack isn't just the host of this event. He's also the president of the country's largest micron group. Who do you think you are, claiming that Jack is waiting for you? Just as they were all laughing at me, a voice suddenly rang out from the front. Mr. Falk, I thought you weren't going to make it. It's such a pleasant surprise to see you. As soon as Jack called out my name, everyone froze and stared in disbelief. Jack rushed over to me, clapping me on the shoulder like an old friend, and shook my hand firmly. You've arrived. You've really made this event shine. I've been waiting for you. Please, come up and give the opening speech. Before anyone could react, Jack led me to the stage, not even sparing a glance at Charlotte, Pablo, or the rest of the crowd. The surprised looks on their faces were priceless. Their eager hands dropped, and they just stared at Jack and me, confusion and disbelief written all over their faces. I could hear murmurs behind me. No way. Is Calvin really Mr. Falk, the chairman of DS Group? Calvin, how could he be Mr. Falk? That doesn't make sense. Mr. Falk is a huge figure. There's no way he's the same person as Calvin. Forget it. If Jack is personally welcoming him, there's no mistake. You guys need to figure out how to save face now. I smirked quietly, hearing Charlotte's voice rise in disbelief. No way. This can't be true. Calvin, this loser, is Mr. Falk, my superior. Calm down, honey. This must be some kind of mistake. There's no way Calvin could have reached that level. Ignoring their banter, I walked confidently onto the stage. As soon as I stood there, the crowd erupted into shock. Oh my God. I didn't dare believe it at first, but it really is Mr. Falk. I saw him once back when I was in M country. It's really him, but his appearance is so casual today. I didn't recognize him at first. Hey, you don't get it. Big people like him are always low-key in private. He's probably just here for a vacation. I scanned the crowd and noticed Charlotte's furious glare. I ignored it and quickly turned my attention back to the audience. I adjusted the microphone and smiled lightly, addressing the crowd. Everyone, I apologize for my appearance. I just arrived straight from the airport, so I didn't have time to change. I'm rarely in public events like this. Today, I'm here at the invitation of Jack to attend this New Year's business cocktail party. My speech was poised and confident, and it caused a stir among the audience. Applause filled the room as soon as I finished. After stepping down from the stage, Jack pulled me aside and we chatted for a while. Before I was surrounded by a group of business partners. Even the media, who rarely had access to me, started to swarm around, eager to get a piece of the action. These people were mostly trying to build connections with me, hoping to become partners with DS Group. I was exhausted, having not had enough sleep, and dealing with so many people drained me. Finally, after I managed to escape the crowd and find a quiet corner to catch my breath, Charlotte and Pablo appeared again, this time with even more hostility in their eyes. Chapter 4. Charlotte looked me up and down, sneering with a mocking tone. Hey, I really should be looking at you with new eyes. Calvin, who would have thought that you're the Mr. Falk everyone's been talking about, my ultimate boss. I put down my water cup, lifted the corner of my mouth, and looked at Charlotte indifferently before speaking calmly. So, Ms. Wu, the president of a small subsidiary under my A-region division. What brings you here? Planning to apply for a promotion or a raise? Why you? Charlotte stammered, but quickly recovered. Who says I wanted to be the president of a region? If I had known you were Mr. Falk, I wouldn't even bother being the president of your subsidiary. Her words, which revealed her true thoughts, caught me off guard. I just smiled and looked at her, shrugging slightly. In that case, I might as well tell you. I am considering adjusting the selection for the A-region president, but it won't be you. Don't get your hopes up. And by the way, your subsidiary's performance this year hasn't met the standards, so I've asked the A-region president to reassess you. If you really think DS is beneath you, or if you think you can't stand me anymore, feel free to resign. It'll save me the trouble of reassessing you. Charlotte's face turned from pale to flushed as she bit her lip, unable to speak for a long time. I scoffed inwardly. She wouldn't dare resign. At this small subsidiary, she earns hundreds of millions each year, maybe even tens of millions. The billions she talks about are just for show. The reports don't lie. I've been watching her since she first joined this company. She got lucky and became president. And a few years ago, she brought in a few good suppliers, which helped save costs and increase profits. That was fine. But these last 2 years, she's been getting too full of herself. She signed deals with unreliable connections. And this year, the profits have turned negative. As the president of DS, I always make decisions objectively and rationally. I didn't refuse her back then just because she was my ex, and I won't give her special treatment now for the same reason. I couldn't believe she'd been inflating herself behind my back, even having people insult me like I'm a dog. My words left Charlotte humiliated, while Pablo, standing by her side, became upset. Calvin, don't think you're so great just because you're Mr. Falk. So what if Charlotte's not working at your subsidiary anymore? If she strikes out on her own, she'll be successful. At that moment, the group of sycophants, who had been flattering Charlotte and Pablo earlier, now turned on them. Hey, Charlotte, you've been bragging about how great the company is under your leadership. Turns out it's all fake. If Calvin hadn't spoken up, we might have thought you'd get promoted to the president of a region, but now you're getting fired. Huh. And Pablo, you're such a mama's boy, mooching off Charlotte like that. What a shame. In the blink of an eye, Charlotte and Pablo became the targets of ridicule. They were no longer seen as a perfect couple, but rather as failures. Calvin, we were fooled by Charlotte. We didn't know you were Mr. Falk. Please don't hold it against us. Yeah, Calvin, our company just became partners with your subsidiary. We'll be counting on you. Hey, Calvin, thank goodness you dumped Charlotte. Anyone who stays with her is bound to have a miserable life. Hearing the immediate change of attitude from these fair-weather friends, I remained completely indifferent and calmly sipped my tea. Charlotte and Pablo's faces were visibly embarrassed. Charlotte, still holding on to her pride, gritted her teeth and spoke coldly. So what? Even if your career is successful, you're still all alone. A man with nothing but a lonely life. You can't even keep a woman. Hey, I think you're still hung up on me. If you still love me, just tell me. I'm not against breaking up with Pablo and getting back together with you. Charlotte's words completely stunned me. In her eyes, I was nothing but a failure. Just as I was about to leave, bored by the situation, a sweet, cheerful voice called out from behind me. Daddy. I turned around and saw my wife, Valentina, holding our son David's hand, walking towards me. My face immediately lit up with a sweet smile as I reached out to pull them both into my arms. Hey, my little darlings, what are you doing here? David, his chubby little hand gripping my neck, spoke in his babyish voice. Mom said we're here to give you a surprise, so we came to keep you company. I looked at Valentina and kissed her gently on the forehead. Thank you, and thank you to David for this surprise. I love it. I'll say goodbye to Jack, go back to the hotel to freshen up and change clothes. Then we can go out and tour the capital. Valentina and I have been living in M country for years, and David's studying there too. Since it's the winter break, it's only me, the workaholic, still running around on business trips. They managed to come from M country to spend the new year with me in the capital, and I'm really grateful for that. Although my parents have passed away, I make it a point to visit their old house whenever I'm in town for work. This year, with Valentina and David accompanying me, my tired body felt immediately recharged. After greeting Jack, I was about to leave with my wife and son when a voice suddenly called out, Calvin, can you wait a moment? I need to talk to you. It was Charlotte. I turned and saw her approaching. She looked at Valentina, hesitated. Then I didn't avoid the confrontation and spoke up. Say whatever you need to say in front of my wife and son. We're just boss and employee. There's nothing to hide. Calvin, I really didn't expect you to be Mr. Falk, my boss. I believe it now, with Lay and all the other company bosses confirming it. But don't think I'll believe that you've randomly brought some woman and child to pretend they're your wife and kid. I'll never buy it. Before I could respond, Charlotte turned to Valentina and spoke. You probably don't know who I am, but I'm the woman Calvin loved for 10 years. He could never forget me and fall for some other woman, much less have a kid with someone else. With your bad acting, do you think you can fool me? Tell me, how much did Calvin pay you to pretend to be his family? I'll double it. As she spoke, Charlotte pulled out a checkbook from her bag and handed Valentina a pen, leaving both my wife and son stunned. Chapter 5. My son stared at Charlotte with wide eyes, pointing at her with his little finger, and loudly called out to me, "Dad, is this woman crazy? Why is she saying that Mommy and I are pretending?" His little voice almost made me laugh. I held his hand and responded, "No, son, she's just someone who thinks too much." At that moment, Valentina gracefully smiled at Charlotte and said, "So, you're my husband's first love. Thank you for letting go of him back then, or I wouldn't have had the chance to be with him." Valentina tightly wrapped her arm around mine, silently asserting her place in my life to Charlotte. I placed my hand on Valentina's shoulder, looking at Charlotte with a content smile. "Charlotte, I really don't have time for all this drama. She's truly my wife, and our son is our biological child. MS. Woo. Please keep your checkbook. My husband has provided our family with more than enough security. We don't need your money." Charlotte, who had just been defiant, now looked utterly deflated. Her hand holding the checkbook froze midair. Feeling bored, I was about to leave with my wife and son when some classmates who had just insulted me began to follow. "Hey, Calvin, don't rush off. We didn't get a chance to really talk. When did you become the president of DS Group? And when did you get married?" "Yeah, Calvin, it's been years since we've seen each other, and you pop up with such a big surprise. Let's go grab a meal and catch up." "Oh, this must be your wife and your son." "Huh, Calvin, you really hit the jackpot, career and love, all at once." The people who had been mocking me now started flattering me, and it made me sick. Just as I was looking for an excuse to leave, a cool voice came from behind. "Ha, pathetic. Ha, not long ago, you were saying Calvin was unemployed and washed up, and now you're all sucking up to him." I turned to see Jessica, the one person who had not joined in the mockery earlier. Jessica was the girl from college who had secretly had feelings for me. I didn't realize it back then because I was so focused on Charlotte, and it wasn't until the night before graduation that she told me. The next day, we went our separate ways and lost contact. Jessica's words made everyone lower their heads in embarrassment. She then turned to Charlotte and scoffed, "And you, running your mouth and insulting Calvin earlier. Now that you see he's successful and has a wife and child, you still come crawling after him. How embarrassing." Charlotte's face turned pale, her anger building. She sneered, "What does it matter to you?" After so many years, I saw Jessica again, and she looked even more beautiful and alluring than before. But I already had a loving wife and a son now. There was no longer any fate between Jessica and me. "Jessica, it's been a long time. How have you been?" Not bad, Calvin. I'm actually in M country too. Didn't know." "Huh. I started my own business in the restaurant industry, and now my chain, Little Bear Fast Food, is the largest in M country. But compared to your success, I really can't compare." I exchanged WeChat with Jessica and agreed to talk about a potential business collaboration when I get back to M country. She was the first old classmate I actively asked for contact details from at the party, which caused quite a stir among the crowd, as a few people crowded around asking for my business card and contact info. I made my excuses and led Valentina and our son out. My assistant had already arranged for a car to pick us up at the venue, so we headed for the parking lot. Just as I opened the car door and was about to settle Valentina and our son inside, Charlotte chased after us with a cold look. "Calvin, wait." I impatiently helped Valentina and our son into the car, then turned to look at Charlotte. "What do you want now?" Charlotte's eyes burned with resentment as she bit her lip and spat out, "You always said you loved me, that you only wanted to have children with me. But why, behind my back, did you marry another woman and have a child with her?" Her sudden outburst left me dumbfounded. I stared at her in disbelief. "Charlotte, are you out of your mind? Isn't it you who left me for Pablo? I've found a woman I truly love, and I have a son now. Why would I have children with you?" Valentina met me when I was at my lowest in M country, helped me stand up again, and has been by my side for 10 years. Why shouldn't I marry her and have children with her? And you, MS. Woo. What right do you have to speak here? Valentina did for me what I once did for Charlotte. She helped me through the toughest times, even working 3 jobs while I struggled. When my company started to succeed, she was always there. The difference was, I didn't end up with Charlotte, but Valentina stayed by my side all this time. Charlotte suddenly looked away, and 2 tears fell down her face, but I had no choice back then. "Calvin, in this world, you're the one I truly love. As for Pablo, he's just a kept man, nothing more. Now I know I made a mistake. Please, let's get back together. I want to have a child with you and live happily ever after." I was stunned by her words. This was really shameless. My wife and son were waiting in the car, watching from the front, and even if she wanted to, I didn't. I couldn't even consider getting back with someone who had so little respect for me. I stared at her with disbelief, then pushed her away. "Charlotte, I know you've been reborn, but in both lives, we never ended up together. That shows we have no fate. Please stop trying to hold on to something that's not meant to be. I won't leave my wife and son. Don't bother me again." With that, I got into the car and slammed the door shut. From behind, I heard Charlotte's heart-wrenching cry, "No, Calvin, don't abandon me. I still love you." Whoa, driver. Start the car now. As I saw Charlotte crying and chasing after the car in the rearview mirror, I felt nothing but indifference. In fact, I was starting to feel annoyed. Chapter 6. When we returned to the hotel I had booked in advance, the first thing I did was take a shower, style my hair, and shave. As I stood before Valentina and our son, dressed in a tailored suit and feeling refreshed, both of them immediately smiled. Our son ran over and jumped into my arms, gently touching my smooth-shaven chin, and said sweetly, "Wow, Daddy, you're so handsome. You should be careful. That crazy aunt might come after you again." I couldn't help but laugh, realizing that in my son's eyes, Charlotte really did seem like a crazy person. Since settling in M country, I've rarely come back here, except for the occasional business trip to the capital. The only thing here I felt any attachment to was the small courtyard in the South City where my parents once lived. It was the first time I brought Valentina and our son to visit it. The little yard hadn't changed much, with the old coal stove my parents used still in the house, along with some other old items. Seeing these familiar things made me nostalgic, and I shared many stories from my childhood with Valentina and our son. Over the next few days, I took Valentina and our son around many historical sites, giving them a true taste of the capital's cultural heritage. Both of them had a great time. During these days, Charlotte didn't contact me, and I thought I had finally shaken her off, feeling a sense of relief. However, just as I was preparing to return to M country with Valentina and our son, I received a call from an unknown number. I instinctively picked up the phone, and Charlotte's voice came through. I responded impatiently. "What do you want now?" I'm sorry to bother you again. I finally managed to get your domestic number. Calvin, I've been diagnosed with an incurable disease, and I don't have much time left. I just wanted, if you're still in the country, could I see you one last time? Her voice was weak and trembling, causing a sharp pang in my heart. I no longer loved her, but since we had once been lovers in 2 lifetimes, I still felt some compassion for her if she was really dying. "Okay. Where are you now?" "I have a flight tomorrow, but I can come see you before I leave." I softened, hesitating a bit before deciding to meet her. Maybe this would be the last time. She gave me an address, which wasn't a hospital but her home. She said the doctors had told her there was no need for further treatment, and she was waiting to die at home. I told Valentina about it, and told her to keep our son entertained for a while. I would go see Charlotte and be back soon. With Valentina and I now on good terms, there was no need to hide anything from her. She wasn't petty. I took a cab to Charlotte's current place, a villa on the outskirts. As soon as I entered, I was surprised to see a full spread of dishes laid out on the table. It was just about dinner time, but I didn't think too much about it and simply said, "You're already so sick. There's really no need to make such a big spread." Charlotte greeted me and even poured me a glass of red wine, her gaze burning. "I've always remembered. These are all your favorite dishes. This is the last time I'll make them for you. Calvin, let's have a drink together." She poured 2 glasses of wine. I stared at her in surprise. "You're this sick. Can you still drink?" "You should ask, with my condition now. If I don't drink now, should I wait until I'm dead?" Suddenly, I sensed something off in her expression. This so-called final meeting felt a little strange. Looking closer at the glass of wine, it seemed like there was something unsettled at the bottom. My alertness kicked in. "Can you serve me a bowl of rice? Let me eat something first." Charlotte hesitated but didn't refuse. She quickly turned to get me some rice. Taking this opportunity, I switched our wine glasses, then pretended to eat a few bites of food before drinking the wine in one go. Charlotte followed suit, drinking her wine quickly. Within 10 minutes, her face turned crimson, her body grew hot, and she began to moan and strip off her clothes. Calvin, I feel so hot. I really want you to." Charlotte crawled toward me like a snake, and at the same time, I noticed a red light blinking from the corner of my eye. There was a camera. A chill ran down my spine as I suddenly realized this was a trap. I sighed and went to the kitchen to grab a basin of cold water, dumping it all over Charlotte's head. She shuddered and immediately snapped back to her senses. When she realized her scheme had been foiled, she was furious, shouting at the room, "Pablo, you idiot, don't you see the plan failed? Why aren't you coming out to help?" I was genuinely surprised that Pablo was here. He immediately rushed out, swinging a baseball bat to strike me. I grabbed the bat with one hand and kicked him away. At that moment, the assistants who had been waiting outside rushed in, and together we subdued Charlotte and Pablo, driving them out. The assistant wanted to call the police, but since we were leaving for M country the next day, I couldn't be bothered to deal with it. I did feel a bit sorry for Charlotte, who had ended up like this, but that was all. That night, I informed the HR department and directly fired Charlotte. The next day, I left for M country with Valentina and our son, diving straight into my busy work. 3 months later, I saw a news story on a local news app. It was about Charlotte. She had been diagnosed with brain cancer, and it was already in the late stages. With little time left, Maybe this was her just deserts. And as for Pablo, when he found out she had cancer, he didn't stay to support her. Instead, he took all her money and ran. But none of that mattered to me anymore. In this life, I had a brand new life to live.